This short video will provide 8 important tips on how to write a really bad literature review. Of course, if you want to make an A on your literature review, you should probably avoid these common mistakes. Tip 1 for a bad literature review: be sure to choose articles that are really bad. You want to avoid using the university databases of scholarly works. The writers of a really bad literature review will just do a Google search and pick the first 5 or 10 websites for sources. The good literature review will use articles from scholarly journals and books by experts in the field. If you want a good literature review, use the EKU LibGuide provided in your Blackboard course to locate articles and books for a good literature review. This guide has suggestions for the best databases for research in the field of education. But since you're watching this because you want to write a really bad literature review, then just quote websites like Wikipedia as often as possible. Tip 2 for a bad literature review: ignore APA guidelines. The author of a really bad literature review, they'll just make up their own personal style of citing an article. If you want a really bad literature review, toss that APA style guide in the trash. Only people that want to write a good literature review will refer to the 6th edition of the APA Publication Manual or the OWL website. Sometimes, people that want to write a good literature review will use the citation function in the library databases, and then they are shocked to learn that the databases make APA mistakes. So, for a really bad literature review, never double-check the citation provided by the databases. Here's 3 examples of citations straight from the library databases, and all 3 had APA mistakes. For a really bad literature review, tip number 3 is to try your best to avoid writing topic sentences that summarize the main point of the paragraph. The author of a really bad literature review wants to confuse the reader as much as possible. The author of a really good literature review will proofread his or her paper several times to make sure that every paragraph has a clear topic sentence. Here at the top is an example of a bad topic sentence. The reader doesn't have a clue what the main point of this paragraph is going to be. But on the other hand, this good example sentence lets the reader know exactly what to expect in the following sentences. Tip number 4 for writing a bad literature review: in a bad literature review, the author just grabs an article from the top of the stack, writes a paragraph about it, and then grabs the next one in the stack. So if you want a bad literature review, never synthesize the information from the various articles. Here at the top is a bad example. This person just grabbed the first article in the stack. On the other hand, in this good example, the author has synthesized the information from 5 different articles that were grouped together because they were similar. For a bad literature review, make sure the articles talk. I mean, after all, pieces of paper talk, right? Hi, I'm a piece of paper and I'm telling you what to do. Look at this bad example. In this example, the article stated, no, articles don't talk, authors do. In a good literature review, like the example in the bottom, the author has put the name of the person that wrote the article. Tip number 6, in a bad literature review, use every possible verb tense. Use them all. Use past, present, future, past perfect, future perfect. Never be consistent on your verb tenses. But if you want to write a good literature review, like the examples on the slide, then you will remember that all research studies were done in the past, and all authors of the articles wrote in the past, so the person that's writing a good literature review will use past tense correctly. Tip number 7, ignore writing an introduction and conclusion for your literature review. You do not want remember, you do not want the reader to have a clue what you're talking about. But a good literature review has a strong introduction that summarizes the main themes of previous research, and then uses those same themes to organize the body of the paper. Also, a strong summary will relate the key themes to the research project. And finally, this tip is a 100% guaranteed way to make an F. In fact, it's the easiest way to make an F. So, if you want to write a really bad paper, just ignore tips 1 through 7 and skip straight to this one. A really, really bad literature review has plagiarism, cheating, and fabrication. Let's review what those mean. Plagiarism is not citing a source of information. Sometimes, even people that are trying to write a good literature review may get in a hurry or get sloppy and omit a citation. So if you want a good literature review, don't get sloppy. If you want a bad one, then just copy and paste your whole paper and don't use a single citation. Cheating is another problem, and that can also guarantee an F. If you want to earn an F for cheating, just get somebody to write the whole thing for you. Fabrication is making stuff up. Don't do it if you want a good paper. The item with the box around it is the one that most often occurs in literature reviews. Here is an example of plagiarism. This person has copied and pasted a book review without citing the actual source. If this person pretended that he or she had actually read the book that was being reviewed on the website, then that person would also be fabricating. What if you're trying to write a good literature review, and after you get finished, you realize you are 3 sources short of the number required? So you just add 3 more sources to your reference list without actually using them in your paper. Well, if you've done that, you've just turned your paper into a bad literature review because now you've fabricated. You've pretended to read articles that you really have not read. So, if you want to write a bad literature review, follow all my advice. But if you want to write a good literature review, then make sure you do the following. Choose scholarly books or articles. Use APA style. Write clear topic sentences for every paragraph. Synthesize. Remember that authors say things, not articles. Always use past tense verbs. Write an introduction and conclusion. And finally, do not plagiarize, cheat, or fabricate.